Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health. For every day, our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health is heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney, and I'm with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, for each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course, where we do encourage you to call in to join in today. Well, this is post-conference Monday. Gotta give you the update on what happened here in Pittsburgh this past weekend. It was a launch, folks, a first-timer for the issue of frequency-specific microcurrent here in Western Pennsylvania. I try to bring you up to speed on everything that happened. Really would appreciate, by the way, hearing from any of you out there who participated. We had two wide ranges of participants. One, just lay people who had an interest in taking care of themselves and their family. And then on Saturday and Sunday, a group of practitioners who work with patients and now have found FSM to be a unique way of correcting their problems. So I'll give you a recap on that today and an open invite for anybody who wants to come on in and let us know how you felt the conference went. Really want to hear from you. I want my listeners to hear from you, because this is not the last of the frequency-specific microcurrent conferences we're going to have. There will be many more, and so if you want to be at this one and couldn't make it, or if you just didn't even know if you wanted to be there, hopefully we'll create an atmosphere where you want to be here at the next one. And I'm really encouraging all those out there who participated. Give us a call today at 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. I will recap this as soon as we hit that first break. Now, other things up and coming in this one. A big action-packed week, folks. This weekend, I'm off to St. Petersburg, Florida. It is the first, well, it's actually a launching. A new book has been published. We got copies of the book about a week and a half ago. First time I've ever had one where the event hadn't occurred yet, but now the book is in my hands. A group of doctors, 16 of us, including Dr. Conrad, makes 17, who've been working with chelation therapy for a long time, 20 years plus in my case, and some of the gentlemen and ladies that are on this list have been doing longer than that. Anyway, we, in keeping with the good contract method of writing a book, we all wrote chapters to this unique book entitled Chelation Therapy and Other Vital Detox Methods to, obviously, save your life. Anyway, we all meet up in St. Petersburg, Florida this weekend, starting on Friday, Saturday, and finishing up on Sunday, to present to the group of doctors, as well as, and I really like this about Dr. Conrad, whenever he holds conferences, as I now do myself, I always invite the lay public to participate. It really enriches the audience. It makes the conference much better. It gives them an opportunity to sit side by side with the very doctors who be giving the conference, and they get very comfortable at it. We really enjoy having lay people participate. That is evidenced by the fact that this past weekend we had a special day for lay people only. Non-medical people, people who just had an interest in themselves. And of course, that's the theme in keeping with all that we do here. You should be able to take care of yourself, given some proper guidance. And this is just one more instance. Chelation therapy, the entry point for many of us who are doing the good work of alternative approaches to the treatment of medicine. Chelation therapy has been the entry point for many of us. I look at this list and know and have known many of the folks here. Terry Chappell, who is has been entrenched in way before, since I ever made it on the scene in the alternative medicine. Terry's from over here in Ohio. Bruce Dooley, John Tobridge, Robert Rowan. You know Dr. Rowan. He just has recently returned back from Sierra Leone, with a story on how to correct and treat Ebola with ozone. Of course, his entry point was chelation therapy. Dr. Lee Cowden, he's been a big hit here on our show. He was one of the original top 20 docs, along with Dr. Rowan, I should add, that was presenting just a little more than a year ago at the Phoenix conference for the top docs of alternative doctors in the country. He was one of them. David Nebling, personally very good friend of mine from Michigan, also has been on the show many times. David Minkoff, I haven't had him on the show yet, but he is absolutely a trendsetter when it comes to alternative medicine. He works out of Clearwater, Florida. Peter DeWitt was on our show a while ago. How about this guy? Gary Gordon, the fellow who literally took over, commandeered the show a little over a year ago in January. And I think I got one question out, and Gary just took it from there. He is the original godfather of chelation therapy. And so I'm anxious to see Gary again. I'd like to really listen to his contribution to the book. I've read the chapter. It's a good one. Marty Dayton's going to be there. Robin Sika, a physician from Connecticut. Anyway, these are all, in many cases, personal friends of mine, but I know their entry point into alternative medicine, the attractor, the thing that drew us into ultimately working this side of the street, if you want to put it that way, was chelation therapy. Back in the day, chelation therapy was only delivered one way. It was delivered through the use of intravenous EDTA. And the rest is history. The EDTA that we utilized back then was only obtainable through an IV form. And that's the way it stayed for about 50 years until 2002, until we got those first products where we could actually administer it orally. But the EDTA story for so long involved sitting in a nice, comfy chair, and usually for around 3 hours. I remember having my IV room. There were 17 or maybe 18 lazy boy chairs all around a very large room, and that room turned over completely 3 times a day because it was the only way you could do EDTA. You couldn't do it orally, and there were that many people demanding to be able to be treated that way, and so we had to run shifts. I hearken back to that day because the dynamic in that room with 17 or 18, we'll just say 17, people all receiving EDTA IV, and with similar reasons for why they were doing it, but backgrounds that were as different as the day is long. And that dynamic, the crosstalk, the communication between those who sat and were there for the 3 hours before the shift changed, I think is a dynamic. I'm sorry to see that it is past. We don't need a room full of 17 chairs. A lot of people are doing this stuff at home orally, but that's where it all began for every one of the docs that I personally know on this group of contributors to the book. So the book is in our hands. We have copies of the book here if you want it. It's a $25 book. Give us a call. We'll be come on in and pick it up. You don't want to get this thing mailed to you. The postage gets a little bit out of hand. But chelation therapy and other vital detox methods, we're all going to be meeting at St. Petersburg Beach this weekend coming up, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Each of us presents, and then there's going to be festivities where the lay public gets to sit on panels and ask questions, and this is the Ed Condrut patented, tried and true way to hold a conference, and I think it's a fine addition. We've taken up the gauntlet and do it ourselves now, but chelation therapy, once again the title, chelation therapy and other vital detox methods to save your life. And we have copies of it in the office. Give us a call. We'll either send it out or come and pick it up. It costs us $25. It's hot off the press. It's brand new. Okay, Other things going on. Yes, coming up this month, on this Thursday. This Thursday evening, we've been promoting the use of essential oils for quite some time now. We like this company called Young Living, and they make a superior product, a pretty pure extract of a whole bunch of plants and flowers and the like that do wonderful medicinal things for you. Well, this particular week now, we're going to hold our own meeting here in my office on Thursday evening. Sharon Bovalina will be running that thing, and she's a local gal too that's very much invested and involved in Young Living and very knowledgeable on the oils. So if you think you'd like to be a part of this local group that's going to meet I'm told, every 3 weeks here in my office, come on this Thursday, give us a call so that we know you're coming, 724-942-3002, and they can talk to Kim or Sister Sarah on this one. Kim probably be the easiest one, and get yourself enrolled so we reserve a seat there. It's a nice crowd that's building up, and I guess the trick was we're offering in the evening, and some people who were conflicted during the day probably work and couldn't participate now can. And we saw it fill up the moment we started to have the first evening meeting, and that'll be held this Thursday in my office, 7 o'clock, under the direction of Sharon Bovalina. By the way, Sharon will be our guest here on the radio show on Friday the 24th, talking about how to use the oils. And you'll get to know Sharon very, very well, and you'll find her to be as knowledgeable as I found her to be. And give us a call to participate in the in-office affair this Thursday night at 7 o'clock. Once again, that number, 724-942-3002. What else? Okay, yes. This month, the eye program. Now, we're going to have a conventional 3-day eye treatment protocol program coming up on the 27th, 28th, and 29th. And with just over 2 weeks to go, almost to the day, well, it is 2 weeks to go, enough time to get your records in. If you have any retinal afflictions, especially things like the macular degeneration that's so prevalent, the number one vision claimer is MACD. Whether it's wet or whether it's dry, it's a retinal disease, and just by its very nature, there is no conventional therapy for it. Tragic as that sounds, almost unbelievable as that sounds, if you suffer from MACD, you already have the bad news from your ophthalmologist that, look, would like to be able to help you, but we just can't. Oh, yeah, sure, we do injections. By the way, this is scary enough. We do injections through your eyeball right to the back of the retina if you're a wet MACD because you get bleeding back there. Seems like it would be a pretty scary thing for me, and I know that people dread even the thought of someone injecting back into the eye, and it gets done all the time. But it does not correct the disease. It just stems the tide of the bleeding, and of course that doesn't get you any vision back. Other things, glaucoma with intraocular pressures that are sometimes soaring, diabetic retinopathy, retinitis pigmentosa. There's a long list, and you can check that list out at our website at thepittsburgheyeprotocol.com, or you can go to Dr. Ed Condrut, the guy who invented this entire 3-day program. His website is healingtheeye.com, and he runs the Healing the Eye Wellness Center, now located in Fort Myers, Florida. And you, of course, know him very well. He's a Pittsburgh boy, born and raised, and original practice out of Mount Lebanon, the Mount Lebanon area. Extremely lucrative practice, very busy practice, and is conventional in that day as the day is long. He did all the things that conventional ophthalmologists do, and he learned the frustration of not being able to help in these retinal diseases. And so he said, you know what? I'm going to change this whole thing. I'm going to go find a way to do this and to actually reverse these diseases. And that from that, 14 years ago when he went to Phoenix, Arizona, put the programs together. I've been working with Ed on these programs for the last 6 years, but we took over the place, and it was in July of 2013, and ever since, one program a month for those of you who are afflicted. Give us a call here at 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002. Talk to Sister Sarah, and she'll guide you in to the program up and coming on the 27th, 28th, and 29th of the month. And I think in terms of the calendar issue, that just about rounds it out. All right. So we're going to take a short break. We've opened it up now to you. If you're participating in the FSM conference, that's Frequency Specific Micro Conference, the first time one's held in Western Pennsylvania. And I really would love you to give us a call and check in on how things from your perspective went. What did you think of the conference? Because there will be others. And if you're listening to us today, you might want to be participating in the up and coming. How about hearing about the past one from those who were there? Give us a call if you were there at 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. Take a short break. We'll be back in just a moment. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health. Heard here in KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today in a Monday morning version of the show, and not just any Monday morning. It's the postscript to a wonderful weekend. We literally launched this on Thursday night. I'll give you a recap of how the days went. But this past weekend was Frequency-Specific Microcurrent weekend. The first time a course has been offered, and in this case, to the lay public as well as to practitioners. And we really feel that Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania, is going to be the hub of this activity. It's only right that it be the hub, and that this radio show continue to be the information disseminator, so that you are always made aware of when the next up-and-coming conferences are going to be held. I really enjoyed putting this thing on, of course, greatly aided by Sister Sarah, who really put the thing together. But the speakers were outstanding. This all got started on Thursday night, and it was really appropriate that it did get started with the group that probably started it all here in Western Pennsylvania. Of course, you know the group very well. They're called the Freedom of Choice in Cancer Therapy Group. They meet once a month on Thursdays, and these have been run and put together for a long time now by Sylvia Provenza. The moment she heard that we were putting this conference on, she worked tirelessly to schedule a meeting and find a place to have it. There's a little thing that went on last week. It was Orthodox week, and they're off by a week with Easter week. So that was their week last week, and the venue that we normally hold these meetings in was just unobtainable. These are religious holidays for the folks at the Riverside Landing, but Sylvia found a place, the Slovenian Center up there in Cheswick, and it was you attended it well. You packed the place, and then of course we had our two featured speakers present on that night and give you a glimpse of what was going to happen. By the way, because of that, there are a lot of people that came and said, I wanted to actually participate. And so telling them what the conference was going to be about turned out to be very rewarding for them, because they actually became part of the conference. But we had Shannon Gosen, a newcomer to the Freedom of Choice in Cancer Therapy group, but not a real newcomer to Western Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh. She's been coming to Pittsburgh for quite some time, got some of her early training in trigger point myotherapy here, but since that time has become a rock star in the alternative world when it comes to frequency-specific microcurrent. She's recognized as one of the prime educators in the country on how to teach people the use of frequency-specific microcurrent. And she did a fine job on Thursday night, providing the science behind it. And I think that was a worthwhile endeavor to let people in the audience know that this one has been studied. And there are research programs that have published articles on this, and the results almost unbelievable that they couldn't even be published for 5 years because nobody believed that anything could do that. Anyway, that was Shannon's offering on Thursday night early, and then wouldn't you know it, our darling Charmaine Bassett rolled in and took over the place at the second half of that meeting on Thursday night, and the place just rocked in the only way that she knows how to present things, with a splash, with a bit of panache. But unbeknownst to me, as long as I've known Charmaine, she's been immersed in microcurrent since literally the inception of microcurrent, and is very familiar with all aspects of it. In fact, her and Shannon had quite a conversation, both before and after that conference. And they are like-mindedness, and they have the same understanding and awareness of how helpful frequency-specific microcurrent can be. And I just really didn't know her range of expertise is so wide. Sometimes it even surprises me how much Charmaine Bassett really knows, and she just took over the place, and what a closer that was. So that was our Thursday night, sort of get them ready to participate in the actual conference. Now, that actual conference was held at the Crown Plaza Hotel, directly across the street from South Hills Village. And on Friday, April 10th, was Layperson Day. And we had a nice crowd participate. Some of them my patients, others not. Some who knew a lot about frequency-specific microcurrent, and there were those who really just had an interest and didn't know a thing about it. Anyway, by the time the day was up, I think I know that they were all pretty much jaw-dropping on what they learned from the cast of players. And Charmaine and Shannon took to the stage once again and pretty much dominated all of that Friday presentation. I know that you enjoyed it. Love to hear from you, by the way, about it. And then Saturday and Sunday came around, and practitioners, many of you in the realm of massage therapy, naturopathy, a couple of doctor friends of mine, whether they be medical doctors, MDs, or DOs, osteopathic physicians, a lot, and chiropractors. The room, an eye doctor came all the way from Virginia, a holistic optometrist. Got to know him very well, and we'll be communicating quite a bit as time moves on from here. And we spent Saturday all day and Sunday, which was supposed to be a half day, People didn't want to leave. The thing was still going on by 5 or 6 o'clock. They wouldn't go. They wanted to learn more. I've never seen anything like it as long as I've been involved with conferences. It was nice to see them really get so immersed they didn't want it to end. So we had our 3-day conference. It was the first. There will be others. Just stay tuned to this station. And, of course, we'll be bringing Shannon back to do her Monday shows. Richard, now if you have, and the theme for this particular Microcurrent conference was the issue of pain, whether that be acute pain or chronic pain. It appears to be a good common link because most people have some pain problem that just has eluded them for years and how to get it reversed. Now, you can use frequency-specific microcurrent for anything, but it's true that because pain was a common link, it was a great illustrator for all of the utility and the potential of frequency-specific microcurrent. And so if you have a pain problem and you'd like to have it resolved, you want to give us a call here at 724-942-3002 and allow our frequency-specific expert, Richard, to get a whack at you. After you meet me, it's all in the diagnosis, folks. Believe it or not, as specific a set of diagnoses I can provide Richard, the more precise he can be with the frequency-specific programs that the device will have programmed into it. And so, yes, anybody who falls and, let's say, breaks a hip, that seems to be one to be a common link to most folks, the fact that they broke a hip. But how about a person who breaks a hip with osteoporosis that was running in a event and had a car wreck 5 years ago in which they had to be taken to an emergency room because there was a head injury suspected, who also had a number of emotional factors going on within her life or his life, as the uniqueness of an individual and their own particular history emerges, clues come out that allow us to program into the device every single aspect of this particular patient. And when you do that, the specificity of the program takes on a whole unique component that without those other factors wouldn't be so unique, and the likelihood of the program working is diminished because of the absence of those facts. So when we can provide Richard with the multiple diagnoses that are required to fill in those blanks, the program that gets written becomes highly specific for that individual. And the more specific the program, the more diagnoses that can be placed in the hands of Richard, the greater success and likelihood there's going to be that we're going to be able, on the first time around, solve the problem. And if not, we'll get on the second or third. Wouldn't think that would take any more than three treatments to get this resolved. And once the right frequency is hit, this is no longer a matter of, geez, I wonder if this is helping me. It's immediate, it's known, it is profound, and from that point forward, you are a person that just celebrates the use of frequency-specific microcurrent. Take us up on our offer. Come in to see us. Set up an appointment with me first if you haven't really ever developed a doctor-patient relationship with me. Give us a call at 724-942-3002. That's 724-942-3002. And get on in here so we can deal with your issues. They don't have to be pain-related. It can be, and certainly it's a common link to many patients that we see. But you don't have to have a pain problem in order to come on in and have frequency-specific microcurrent work on your behalf. It just isn't necessary, and we'll take it from there. I guess the other thing I wanted to report is, for the first time, we actually had the vendors, the people that make these devices in the room. 2 companies were represented. You'll be hearing more about these companies because I'll be bringing them on the radio show. I want you out there to know the type of equipment that's available, what that equipment does, how it gets used, and the two companies that Shannon and I both agree need to be playing a role in our frequency-specific microcurrent programs are number one, a company called Avazia. They make a superior product. Tim Smith is the owner and developer of Avazia. He's a rock star. Worked at Texas Instrument for years. Worked with NASA. Developed many of the systems. Were on board the shuttle program and space program. And then he went off in this venture here, and voila, we have Avazia born with a whole bunch of ways that you can use microcurrent to treat yourself as well as other family members. So Avazia was in the room and an opportunity to demonstrate what they do to our participants, whether they be laypersons or practitioners. Then another person who actually sat down and took the entire course in this weekend is the inventor and entrepreneur of a company called Inspirstar. It truly is a frequency-specific device that can be programmed based on whatever the clinicians decide need to be put into the program. And his name is Ning, N-I-N-G, Ning Wu. And Ning Wu was also there this past weekend trying to explain his device, which is also unique in its own way. So we got two companies. Each of these devices tends to do something a little different. They both use microcurrent. And I guess the moniker is that all microcurrent is good, but the more specific the frequencies get, the more the outcomes are going to achieve what the patient's looking for. And these two approaches are pretty much night and day, still using microcurrent, just completely different, all having their own benefits and their own drawbacks, which we had explained to them. So I promise you I'll be bringing many a radio show guest aboard to explain frequency-specific microcurrent in general, but then the companies that represent, I think these two are the stellar companies that produce a device so sophisticated that it will meet our needs and the needs of the people that we treat. Okay, I think that's it for recaps. I still have an open invite for any of you out there who happen to be a participant this past weekend. Give us a call, 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. We're going to take a short break now, and when we come back, shift some gears. There are some things in the news that I'd like to share with you. One, I sort of knew this was going to come up, and no doubt it has, on diet drinks. And you'll see what I mean when we get back. So let's take a short break. On our return, off to the races on things in the news, and you can come on in and take over the joint too. 412-825-6262. Dial it up, knock on the door, and I'll let you in the store. Be right back. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health. Heard here in KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today. The Monday morning version of the show, it is a post-conference version of the show. We've pretty much explained what I did all weekend and really enjoyed every bit of it. If you participated in it and you think you'd like to weigh in, please give us a call at 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. I'll listen for the knock on the door, and then I'll let you in the store. We do have a knock. Come on in the store. Hello, welcome aboard. What's on your mind? Go right ahead.
Well, that's pretty much what I did all weekend, too, Doc.
I know that voice, that whiskey voice, Brenda Vaccaro type. I know that person.
If only I looked like her.
Hey, Faith, you were in that group, especially the Saturday and Sunday group, and it was sort of a, how do I say this, circuitous route, because if there are two people in Western Pennsylvania who've been working with frequencies for a long period of time, it's you and Dave. Mm-hmm. And then lo and behold, now an electronic device comes out that I believe has heads and heels advantages over the gem version of these frequencies. I'm really interested. I'd love you to explain to our listeners what you thought about the entire affair.
Well, as far as frequency goes, both Dave and I are no stranger to frequency, as you said. So we were very familiar with a lot of the frequencies and what they do. However, being able to use them with a device does a number of things. It frees you up to do other work with your patient. It frees you up to do all kinds of, be discussing things with them, do other treatments, work on them. Where if I was just doing frequency, or David, we were doing frequency with someone, we'd have to be 100% focused and working with them continually in that moment, be right there present. We couldn't walk into the next room and check on another person or anything like that, which is the very first and foremost value to it, I'd say. But overall, I just love it. It's fast, faster. That's another one. It's definitely quicker. And it works really well. As you know, I've done 5 sessions, I believe, in your office. And I've had, there's a scale that I look at, and it's a graph, and it's totally going upwards. I would caution people after they get a treatment, though, to be very serious about following Richard's recommendations to drink water. If they have a tendency to detox quickly and a lot when they get treatments, then they should, take charcoal with it and do other things to detox. And you can seriously see how much the microcurrent works by some of those detox issues. But they're easy. I mean, they're just drinking water. People need to drink water anyway.
You gotta flush out. You gotta hydrate properly. It's the medium by which these frequencies travel throughout the body. They have to have that water molecule in plenitude in order to carry on the work that frequency-specific microcurrent can do. Absent that water, these currents are very difficult to move around the body. Present with water, piece of cake, moves through you with ease. So that's a very good caution that you brought to the table. I don't think I've ever mentioned it before, but it certainly came across by Shannon. How many different times she talked about got to be hydrated. You got to have adequate amounts of water. And so
when I come in, when I'm on my way in for a treatment, and I know I've run into lots of people in your office getting treatment. For them, I would say, make sure you drink an entire bottle of water on your way in, and have one in the car for when you're leaving, so that you drink that on the way out. And I find that when I made a point to do that, I think that my treatment holds longer, and I get more out of it. So that's just a little tip, and for no effort on our part, we can maximize our results. So that's one thing. You know what, Doc? In the gems, crystals and gems, which are how we originally got into frequency, they're wonderful. They work in the really subtle ranges of human energy. yeah, the low hertz, where with the microcurrent it can go higher and higher, so you can get faster effects. And if you're in the hands of a good practitioner, then you can get outrageous results. I mean, some of the stories that Shannon was sharing, and Charmaine, that was great. And and I would like to just say about the presentations. First of all, Richard Finn, for everybody who's met him, I've known Richard for a long time. I loved his presentation, and this is a man whom I've known very many times. I've watched him teach class, but I really appreciated the subtle, dry humor that he was put into his presentation. It was great. Every one of the presentations were fabulous. I don't think you could have gotten three more important people to the subject of microcurrent, nor three people who knew more. I think you probably had the three most knowledge.
That's a great way to say it.
Of microcurrent in the country. And I'm not kidding. Dave and I met a lot of them. It was a very, very good conference. The information was very solid. And
well, how about that lecture by Charmaine? By the way, ladies and gentlemen, someone needed to try to get across the history of microcurrent, and so we asked Charmaine to do what she calls past, present, and future. And the interesting thing about it is Charmaine has lived in these three different realms. Past, she goes back to when microcurrent was first devised. Okay, so
right,
she had personal experience all these years with all these machinations. And I said, whenever she finished, you know, she's probably the only person in the country that could give that talk, because she was there at just about every turn of microcurrent over the years. Very few people could come up with that standard and be able to say, well, yeah, I didn't just read about it. I was there. I met that guy. And she threw out some pretty big names that people that actually trained her. I thought, I didn't know this about you, girl. But go, girl! What a presentation that was.
Oh, it was great. And ever since we've met Charmaine, which is at least 12 years ago, she's been doing microcurrent. And one of the reasons that we connected with her, David and I, was because it was all about frequency. And so we learned a lot about microcurrent from Charmaine, right? That's actually probably who we learned the most from 12 years ago.
Wow.
Because she was the only person that we really knew nearby doing it. Her knowledge is great. And the way that she put together her talk, if you really look at that, you see that everything that was the past has really come full circle and is now the present. And the only difference with using the frequencies now is, instead of people really using the frequencies themselves, sort of bringing them into their bodies and doing the chanting and the energy work, they've been able to get a machine to hold the frequencies and use them. But other than that, all of the key points that Charmaine made were all about health, diet, water, meditation, reducing your stress, everything, exercise, everything that was the way people lived centuries ago. And now we're full circle to that with a little help from technology.
Yeah, technology finally has taken over, and with that technology, sky's the limit now. I mean, I don't know what the next generation of these devices hold, but with this generation right here, it was a major advancement to take this last step, to get down to the microcurrent level, which once you got there, you could change the medical establishment of any human being, because you were right at the same level of how current moves to them naturally.
Mm-hmm.
As great as a contributor TENS units were to using electricity,
right,
or current, it fell far short of the mark with actually fixing anything. It literally shut everything down. It shut it down so well that people could have their pain problem alleviated.
And that's what microcurrent is.
Yes.
You know, and the cross that I think is fabulous right now is the cross, or the connection, where finally spirit, emotion, and technology are really coming together. You really can't use one without the other. You can do microcurrent, but if you're not going to think about, you know, what about your thoughts, about what you put in your body, about your energetic connection to everything, you know, like eating crappy poison food from China. You do that and you get a microcurrent. Come on, go get your microcurrent and stop by Sunny Bridge or one of your local stores and get some real food and take it home and eat it. You know, really, you know, make that crossover or the mesh. You know, put them together to get the most impact out of your treatment. You know, I think it's fabulous the way everything's now connecting up.
I do too. I wanted to ask you because I really don't know the answer to this question because I really wasn't around. But, you know, folks, at the end of the day, nobody would leave. Okay, everybody kept hanging around. And Ning Wu took you and a few other people to teach them how you go ahead and program a device. Because these are devices that need to be programmed.
Carrie, myself, and David, and this is fabulous because I understand. I saw how to program it. Now we've got our own and we can program it. Mm-hmm. And it's wonderful. As Shannon says, she walks around all day with microcurrent on her. And I think it's a fabulous thing for anybody who can have it, anybody who's in pain. But they just come in and talk to you, I guess, or really Sarah Richard, they can get a microcurrent device to have on them all day and be programmed out. I mean, to learn how to program it and use it on yourself is a fabulous thing.
Well, I really think that that's our goal. I believe every family has to have and should have a microcurrent device that's able to meet the medical needs of the family. And there are certain things we program in the devices. The trauma, the first 4-hour thing where somebody gets injured, everybody needs to have that program they can put on immediately. I think we're going to see this major paradigm shift take an actual form, and people were going to see the need of taking care of themselves because, to be quite honest, folks, the medical profession has blown it. Okay, they have blown it. Tertiary care will always be in abundance. Yep. You, with the sophistication that we can treat people with who have heart attacks or have been injured and wrecks, that part of medicine, I believe, is where we excel. But in chronic medicine, we have blown it, and we're now in the quantum world. And in the quantum world, things can happen that moves so fastly, so quickly, that you'll look at it as I did as a medical doctor and said, "Oh my God, how could you support treating with these drugs and never really fix anything?" Anyway,
it's kind of astounding, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you think about chronic, when somebody comes in with a chronic condition, they walk in and they have taken years to create that chronic condition. And then they walk into a medical doctor's office and they expect to be fixed right away and they expect to be given a pill. Well, you know, in a medical doctor's defense, you can't just turn around and fix something that you took 20 or 30 years to create by taking a bottle of pills.
Well put. Well said. Well put together.
You know, I mean, if you're going to take a long time to create some kind of interference field in your body that's causing you illness, then you can't walk in to your office and say, "Oh, I need this fixed and I need it fixed yesterday." I mean, you have to do the work. You did all the work to do it, to create the injury. Now do all the work to undo it.
And then in the same vein,
more involved and take responsibility when they're getting treated too, to make sure they tell you what's going on. Speak to it. This is happening. This isn't happening. And also, they need to address that spiritual emotional side, which we've seen with Lee Cowden. He's got the Evox. We've seen it with Microcurrent. You address those emotional issues, then other issues are really going to drop away.
Well, I think the amazing thing is the statement you just made about conventional medicine where you use drugs. You can't expect that a 30-year problem is going to be erased. It never is erased by taking a drug, but 30-year problems are erasable profoundly and immediately with microcurrent. I think that so that the phrase works in like an odd way in two directions. It can't work when you don't use the quantum world to think that you can have an impact on these things. It can only happen in the quantum world where these microcurrent frequencies will be able to have the body working in a profound way immediately. I mean, there's no fuss, no muss. It's you get the right frequencies, you get a ball game.
Yes, I think you're right. And quantum physics meets the ancient healing arts. That's what Dave and I were traveling all over the country talking about, and here we are, right back to it. Isn't this wonderful? I mean, I want to just say again how much I'd like to be the conference in terms of how much time and energy that Shannon and Richard and Charmaine put into giving the details and giving the histories and really laying out the foundation from beginning to how you can use the machines. It was very good. They really put their heart and soul into it, and I just like to say kudos to them and kudos to you for putting it together and having them there and pulling this all together.
Well, you were at the first microcurrent conference here in Western Pennsylvania. I can guarantee you it won't be the last.
No.
And so listeners who are hearing your voice today might very well at some time in the future be willing to call in after they've participated. But thanks a lot, Faith, for calling up. Really, you are the right person to sort of assess what happened here this past weekend. You've been involved with it already, and now you've got the final touch, and I'm so happy to see that you and Dave were in the audience, and as well as other people too. May not have called in, but they're well on their way. They can go back to their offices today and start treating people in the new way, and I'll bring them aboard too as time moves on. A lot of them are doc friends of mine, and let's see how well they do with it.
Oh, and it was nice to see a couple of those people there. People who hadn't known for a long time or been treated by in the past. It was very nice to see them there. And I am thrilled that there is a group of medical doctors who really are getting connected with you and on board with this in our area, as opposed to having to like drive out of state or something.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we're building that up. It's gonna snowball.
Well, I tell you, it was a little funny. Dr. Roy Carey, I refer to him as the godfather of alternative medicine in Western Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. I've idolized this man. He's mentored me. He's been so wonderful. But Roy thought, and this is a little humorous. Roy was thinking about slowly easing out of the clinical practice, and use the R word, like retirement. Uh-huh. And I looked at him and I said, Roy, you can't retire. You have to take this new technology and you got to run with it. And he sort of smiled because I think he realizes, retire like hell. I'm gonna be out there. I'm gonna be doing this. And so he's in his office today, I'm sure, using the device because he already had an FSM unit, and we got him programmed up the storm so that he's got plenty of programs to use. And I'll be anxious to hear how well Dr. Roy Carey does in this new realm, because we've already gone through the old stuff. Now he's ready to plow into the new. Thank you very much for the call.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks, Doc, and thanks for having the conference.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
There you have it. Great person to call in and assess. Faith and Dave were there, and now they got all the pieces of the puzzle together. We're right here we're in the home stretch. We're in that gun lap. If you did have a call with a couple minutes left to go, feel free to give us a ring at 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. Now, I know I promised to talk about cataract clinic coming up. I just want to say a few words today because we're waiting for our devices to arrive. Wednesday, I promise to talk about the cataract clinic, which will take place in the month of May. We got so many folks who come in with cataract issues. Now, cataracts are not a retinal disease. That is a series of deposits that collect on the lens itself, And as such, although the Conrad program can be helpful with that, we don't see the definitive turnarounds in 3 days that you can take to the bank and just trust will happen that we do with the retinal diseases. So MACD, yeah, 3 days, we're going to have it turned around. Same thing with glaucoma. Believe you me, as shocking as it sounds, it's absolutely happened. But we have a response with cataracts that isn't near in the percentages that these other responses come. So we've been searching high and low. I've been in contact with Dr. Conrad. I happen to have been the guest on Dr. Conrad's radio show last night. It comes out of Phoenix, Arizona on Sunday night at 8 o'clock. And we talked a lot about chelation, but I asked him off air, Ed, you got to come on the radio show. You got to talk about cataracts. You're doing some new things in your office. We're going to start doing them here. I want to hear from you to let the people who hear our voice that cataracts can be conquered too. And there's some unique therapies that we'll be introducing in our cataract clinic coming up in May. I'll talk about that on Wednesday. Bill has just punched out the chopsticks version of the closing. So in keeping, let's say, nice to be back with you today. See you on Wednesday. Until then, this is Dr. Dennis Courtney saying so long for AM Impact on your health.